All right, so let's push on and start hearing from our speakers. And it really is a great pleasure for us to have someone in the stature of our next speaker now. He's a man who's spent pretty much his whole adult life, 52 years, in full-time devotion into environment protection, saving our planet quite literally. He's held several senior positions in this area over time, including the French Minister for the Environment, Ambassador in charge of negotiations in climate change, Executive Coordinator of the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development, Special Advisor for Sustainable Development by the UN Global Compact. He created a Business and Climate Summit with the majority of French and global business networks on the best ways to combat climate change at a global scale. He's a founding advisor in the formation of Bamboo Air, and without doubt, I suppose we can say, well, a world-respected green leader. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder of the Global Summit on Enterprise with Climate Change, president of the Energy Equilibrium Association, president of the Institute of Water Resources Science, Mr. Brice Lalonde.
Oh, thank you, Peter. That was very nice words to introduce a long life. Well, as soon as I heard of Bamboo for Air, the initiative, I thought it was a very fantastic initiative and it needed to have as much support as we could give it. Of course, climate change is already here. We can see all the forest fires, we can see the sea level going up, we can see all these flash floodings or droughts. So of course we need cooperation, as you said so well, Peter. Everybody has to do something. And I think we know all that each time we burn some fossil fuel, we send carbon in the air. And the other way to try to cope with it is to capture it. How can we capture carbon from the air? Here comes the vegetation, the plants, and some plants do it better than others. So this is where the bamboo comes. The bamboo has a very, very fast growing. It captures something like 5 tons of carbon by hectares after 5 years. The only thing is it needs to be regularly harvested. You must harvest the bamboo so that its capacity to capture carbon keeps very strong. And what's fantastic about the bamboo is not only that it captures carbon in its stem, in its culm, it's also that it captures a lot of carbon in the ground, in the soil, with all the rhizomes. And so in the end, you have something like, in a bamboo ecosystem, something like between 200 and 400 tons of carbon by hectare, depending on the conditions. So it's a real benefit, it's a real blessing for the environment to have this plant, fast growing, short life cycle. And we have now, we know we have some mechanism which the international community has set to try to capture the benefit of this carbon capture in the vegetation, in the forest. This has started in the realm of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, called something called the Clean Development Mechanism, where you could exchange some reduction units of carbon for some companies in the developed world who cannot do it by themselves, so they would buy reductions elsewhere. It was called the CDM, Clean Development Mechanism, and now it's gone through something which is much more interesting and which could be very well used for the bamboo, which is called RED, Reduced Emissions from deforestation and degradation of forest. And the last but not least mechanism which has been set is been set by aviation. It's called CORSIA. CORSIA for Carbon Offsetting Reduction Scheme for International Aviation. And CORSIA, this means that each time the aviation is going to go further than a certain baseline, it's going to have to buy reductions of carbon emissions elsewhere. This is why I believe bamboo can become one of the main actors, I would say, of red plus, and of Corsia. We can see a bit later, if you want, the details of this mechanism. But what's so important with bamboo is not only that it captures carbon, that it's such a fantastic importance for local economies. And this is something we need. I mean, it has a broad distribution. It's very important for rural communities, which are often suffering. It's privately owned. Most of the bamboo forest is privately owned, so the people are very, they're very taking care of the patch of land and the bamboo forest. And it's easy growing. It can help to restore degraded land. So this is very important. To restore degraded land is also something which is which can have some remunerations from international from finance, I would say. Also, bamboo, low capital, high labor intensity, relatively low investment, low risk, I would say, and it's such an incredible product, such incredible amount, 10,000, something like that, product uses of bamboo have been documented since, scaffolders, wood, craft, even you can use it as a substitute for timber trees. You can use it for energy making. You can burn it, etc., etc. So what's very important is that bamboo, if it's nested in an international program, in the national program in a country, if it's supported by an aviation, for instance, company, you have a company in Vietnam called Bamboo, so that's fantastic. You have this is an opportunity for the Bamboo Air Company to work with the bamboo growers, I would say. And so it's reducing poverty. And reducing poverty and having environmental services, you can't find better. So this is why I really deeply think that bamboo, growing bamboo, harvesting bamboo is going to be very important in the next years if governments agree and if air companies agree also to be part of the program. Now, I don't want to go into the details because, of course, if you do things like that, you have to work with the national authorities. It's better to be nested in the national program for climate change because you have to have very strong accounting. You have to have a verification, additionality. I mean, a certain amount of features which probably are a little too much technical to be discussed here, but we can answer to the questions later. So I would like to thank very much Bamboo for Air. I would like to commend this initiative, and I would like to ask as much people as possible to come and to support it. So this is what I would like to say to introduce. And thank you again, Peter, and thank you for all of you. Greetings for all of you for this international seminar.